Hey, welcome on in, everybody. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. You guys are beautiful, and I love you. Getting ready for a monster week for your Miami Dolphins. Coming off the Goosies-filled Hard Knocks against the Dallas Cowboys. Dan the Man, Tua giving Christmas. It was all a delight. It was fantastic. And I want to get into the week ahead because Tua had some interesting things to say leading into this, especially with the meaning of this game and especially the stakes that are on this game. But before that, I want to get into one of the top bums out there, and that bum is Colin Cowherd. And if you guys are familiar with him, longtime sports radio show host, long time on ESPN, made his way over to Fox, a lot of success. Guy has been making analogies and doing it's the herd for a long time. Good for him. So he's in the crosshairs lately of the Miami Dolphins fan. They're very pissed at him because, he's been giving them a lot of attention lately. He's been picking on the Dolphins a lot lately. And I think his explanations of this are hilarious. Now, first of all, with Colin Cowherd, you got to realize this dude is a slave to the numbers. Like, he is going to go with what's the hot topic right now, who is really buzzing, who is getting pissed at me. I'm going to pick on that fan base. I'm going to go at that. That is going to be the zag that I'm going to go with. But here's the thing that I find hilarious about Colin Cowherd, okay? As opposed to other bozos that we've dealt with, and I would say, if we're going to go about the biggest Miami Dolphins bums and the biggest doubters, the guys who you really dislike nationally, numero uno for me is always going to be Chris Sims. I don't think I have to explain myself as to why. You guys know why. Greenberg, as the head of Jet Up at the worldwide leader, is always annoying and always going to be one of these doubters on the Dolphins and throw disparaging things at them. Florio, he likes to be a little bit of a chameleon and blend between both, but he's certainly buzzed a bit about the Mike Tannenbaum. I cannot stand when you're talking about national voices who go against the Miami Dolphins. But Cowherd is a bit of a different case because this dude is a wolf in sheep's clothing. This guy has lined the fence on the Tua argument for a very, very long time. He, first of all, was in the Tua documentary, like fluffing the guy up, talking about him, praising him all the time. Then all of a sudden, right before his rookie year, he completely flipped on the other side and was just too small, not going to work out. So he had no place to be wrong. So I find this hilarious going into this week because he does this segment on his show today and is talking about the idea that the Miami Dolphins are looking for validation. That is why everybody's so mad at him and why everybody is getting pissed at him this week. When it couldn't be further from the truth as to what anybody wants from this ass clown who is going to sit here and say, "Oh, you guys are just looking for validation." No, dum-dum. Here's what everybody is mad about and what they think is hilarious is you sat here on your program last week, you spouted off at the mouth about the Miami Dolphins being fake Gucci, being frauds, being unable to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And not only were we going to lose to the Dallas Cowboys, you said the Dallas Cowboys were going to throttle the Miami Dolphins, blowout city. We're going to destroy the Miami Dolphins. They were a real Gucci bag. The Miami Dolphins were just a cheap knockoff. That's what you compared them to. And so for you to come back this next week and go, first of all, on a couple things. One, you blame the Cowboys and your belief in them for the first time in forever, which I found hilarious. That's always the go-to thing of a guy who's loud wrong. As a sports taker who can be loud wrong from time to time, my least favorite move is blaming the team that you actually believed in and saying that's the reason rather than not having the backing of the team that you didn't want to believe in, not giving the credit to the team that you didn't give any credit to. And so he sits here on his little talk show throne there, and he's talking about the Miami Dolphins are begging for validations. No, dum-dum. What would be nice is an acknowledgement that you were loud wrong and considered going into this week the Miami Dolphins to be an afterthought against the Dallas Cowboys. And instead, after they beat the Cowboys' ass, get themselves into the playoffs, put themselves in position to win the division, put themselves in position to be the 1 seed, you want to sit here all of a sudden and act like the Miami Dolphins are begging for something they don't deserve, which is crazy to me. And all of a sudden you're going to be some guy who's going to be some great champion of Lamar Jackson, like anybody nationally was backing Lamar Jackson for all these years. And I say this is, Lamar Jackson being a South Florida guy, Tua having some awesome things to say about it. I find it hilarious now everybody wants to come around to the side of, Lamar Jackson, where nobody wanted to see this guy get paid 6 months ago. So just a hilarious thing to hear from Colin Cowherd that the Dolphins are looking for validation, haven't won a game in 23 years. But yes, all these things are true. But let's just not get to the root. Let's not overthink what this is, in that you dismissed any shot whatsoever of them winning last week against the Dallas Cowboys. And you just want to say, hey, take your attaboy and move on. Well, no. If you go and call a team a knockoff, a fraud, a fake Gucci, if you call them Fugazi, yeah, you bet your ass that some people are going to come in and say, hey, dum-dum, what about your claim that they were going to get rolled? What about your claim that the Miami Dolphins were going to get smoked by the Dallas Cowboys, who, by my last count, also have not won a Super Bowl in a very, very, very long time and have some of the most famous playoff failures in recent memory. Yet everybody continues to do segment after segment, especially you, who, again, very much a slave to the numbers, a guy who will go Cowboys, Lakers, Yankees, all of the bandwagon brands, because that's what you want. Generic, large, vast, wide topics, and hoping that that'll garner the most attention and keep you on television the most. So now you want to start paying attention. It's like, this Dolphins fan base is pretty passionate. It's getting a lot of buzz, and people usually on the Dolphins have one take on it one way or the other. Now, ESPN has been kind of trumpeting this and going in this direction of trying to get Dolphins all riled up for a while. Colin Cowherd, he's just late to the party. And now all of a sudden sees, this can get a lot of attention. These guys, it's a feeding frenzy every single time I mention the Miami Dolphins. Let's go to this trough. And you start acting like you know what you're talking about, and you say that Tua is a lefty version of Dak Prescott, and you say that you describe Mike McDaniel as a hipster because that's original, because he wears glasses. And you think like, Colin, he's really been nails on this Dolphins thing. So, no, Dolphins are not looking for validation, and especially not from you, dum-dum. But what I think would be nice, I get you, it's wishful thinking, but what would be nice is, blew that Cowboys, that Dolphins team, a lot better than I gave them credit for, instead of, you get your attaboy and move on. But, like I said, the dude is, there's just something not genuine to him. Every time you look at him, like, obviously, look, the guy garners a lot of talent. He's been doing it for a very long time. There are things in his broadcast methods that, like, as a guy who does the profession as well, I'm like, wow, he does those things really well. Particularly like just rolling with teas and all that type of stuff, and opens of shows and keeping things. Those things are very impressive from Colin Cowherd from a broadcasting standpoint, but from a knowledge standpoint, from a do I take this man seriously? No, because I know he's being a carnival barker, and I know that all of a sudden he's got us feeding at the trough of, these guys are really mad at me now. Let me feed into this frenzy a little bit more. So I just found that hilarious that he says the Dolphins are looking for validation, when in reality, it seems like you're looking for validation of you having some serious Miami Dolphins opinions. When you were in the Tua documentary, now all of a sudden you don't believe in them, but you will say, new facts are allowed to change. It's like, dude, you were in the guy's documentary, the story of his life entering the league. And now all of a sudden you're going to be rats off a ship on him. But it's fine. You're with your OG bums anyway, dude. I wasn't looking for anything from you. It's not a surprise. Now, getting to his point of the idea of the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 23 years, haven't been able to advance in the playoffs, which is why these are a couple of weeks that are coming up that are wildly, wildly important for the Miami Dolphins. Because, look, I love the Miami Dolphins. I think that they have shown a lot of great stuff this year. I do agree. Like, look, the easiest path to this puppy all the time is get your ass as many home games as possible. So we're not going to sit here just getting into the playoffs and acting like that's some kind of accomplishment for Miami. They need to keep racking these things up. They have a big, first of all, it's a great measuring stick right at the end of the season for the team that everybody is now talking about as the Super Bowl favorite. Just throttled everybody's darling in the San Francisco 49ers. Did it in very impressive fashion. Made Brock Purdy look like an absolute joker. And Lamar Jackson continues to just absolutely dazzle. this is a huge one in a lot of ways. You got the chance to leapfrog them in the standings. You got a chance to get the tiebreaker against them in the standings. Then you'll have that opportunity to get to the end of the year, possibly having the same record as them and being able to get home field advantage. It'll set you up for a big time. You win the division. If you win this game, you've been waiting for this, secret number. You put the Bills out of it. You put the chance of a winner take it all division game out of the window for the last week of the season. So yeah, there's a lot of monster things at stake this week for the Miami Dolphins. And Tua was talking about this week about setting themselves up for this time of year. But he also said they are not here chasing ghosts of the past.
Well, I don't think for us as a team, we even think about that. And I think that's what has me convinced that we have the right guys in the locker room, I would say. No one's talking about like, oh, we need to beat this team to do this. We need to beat this team to do that. Like guys come in and guys just, hey, how was Christmas? Like, it was good. It was good. And then guys go to their meeting rooms, guys lock in. Then when it's time for us to,
just as an aside, when somebody asks Tua, hey, Tua, how's Christmas? And him just saying it's good as good, that's not true. I pictured Tua answering like Buddy the Elf being like, it was amazing. And let me tell you why, because he's going to go over all the great things that he had going on Christmas.
Like, break and have some time. Like, guys, we understand what's at stake, but I think if you overdo it, I think if you overdo it, it could get to a point where you start chasing ghosts in a way. Whereas, you study the way you study, you do things the way you've done things. And then if you just add a little more, each time on top of that, we could possibly be the team that we've always wanted to be since training camps, since OTAs and things like that.
The thing that they have talked about the entire time, as he said, they're not afraid to talk Super Bowls, but when you have a fan base that has been waiting for a very long time, that can weigh on you. That can be angst. That can be something that is felt because, Mike McDaniels, I think, actually had a really good pulse on this since the time he's come over as coach about the passion of the fan base and how much the fans want this. And so while Colin Cowherd is going to sit there and be like, oh, this is the fans dying for validation. No, the fans just in general are dying. They're dying for success. That's what they're dying for. And if you want to talk about how much fun this season has been to watch, it's like, this product every single week is just like you have one of the most exciting things to watch in the sport on top of it being good and having success. But, when Tua says about, talking about chasing ghosts, like this is not like a lot of Dolphins teams. I don't know if they'll succeed and I don't know if they'll go far. I think they can. In my opinion, I think they are a good enough team to win the Super Bowl. I think that's possible. But I think the thing that is also fun about it is like everything about them, every time you watch them, it feels like an event. It feels like a delight. The town is buzzing about it. I'm at doctor's offices and, wearing a hoodie and people are like fired up about the Dolphins. And I can't tell you, like, it's always been a team that people have cared about, but it's different when the team has a buzz about it. And I think every fan can probably feel that. And so, these weeks are going to feel like maybe the Dolphins are chasing ghosts, but also knowing that this is also them chasing greatness, because if they win these last couple of weeks, you're going to set yourself up to do something absolutely incredible. And the best way to do that is I think for the Dolphins to get as many home games as possible for a couple of reasons. One, Tua, the numbers speak for themselves. The guy is dominant at home. Mike McDaniel, dominant at home. The team, better at home. They just have been. They've been better at home. You want to be at home. It's an advantage. It's not nothing. Being at home in football is a big deal. And so if you can set yourself up for that, you absolutely should do everything you can in your power to make that happen, especially when you're not, an established champion or haven't been there, done that before. This isn't basketball where it's like the Heat, like, what do we get? One extra home game? Like, who cares? We can go snatch home court advantage. That was like the Heat's formula the entire playoffs. They say, oh, what do we do? Snatch home court advantage like that. One game, boom, steal it, and now home court advantage is ours. It's not like that in football. It's one off. And so it's absolutely huge these last few games. But it's also, Tua, I would agree. I would think that Tua is not the MVP favorite right now. But it's such a tightly contested award, and as we've seen the odd swings in this thing has been crazy. There was a one where Tua was the favorite, then swung in odds all the way back behind, in some sports books, behind Tyreek Hill, or in some just barely in front of him. And then Brock Purdy, who was the runaway favorite, slung all the way back up to like plus 1,400. They basically said that game was a killer. If Tua goes out here and he is a performance that tops Lamar Jackson, Tua's going to be right back in there in the MVP conversation. He doesn't care about it, but I thought it was cool to hear him talk about his respect for Lamar Jackson today.
Oh, I could care less about that. I got a lot of respect for Lamar. The things that he's done throughout his career. I can vividly remember when I was in college. I think he was in the NFL, and he reached out to me and, like told me that I was balling, and I thought that was like one of the coolest things. I think that was the year he won the MVP. But just the amount of respect that I have for him, who he is as a player, and then, I've been hearing talks about, what people say about him and whatnot, and how he handles himself and how he goes about his business. Very respectable, very commendable, and he's a baller. Like, that's just flat out what he is, and that's what he does. He's a game changer with what he can do in the pocket, throwing the ball deep. On the run, and then he can, make you miss with his legs as well. So I got a lot of respect for him.
Also been really cool to see, two guys who one of their big questions for both of them coming into the year was durability. It's awesome to see that they've been able to stay healthy, because I think you see with Tua and Lamar, they quarterback in different ways. They're both absolutely electric. And I love Lamar Jackson too. I mean, like, the dude just seems A+ all around as far as a character. In the way he carries himself and the teammate that he is, the accountability that he has. Will give respect to the opponent afterwards. Everybody's talking about Patrick Mahomes being a bit of a crybaby. Lamar just doesn't seem like he's got a lot of that in him. And this is going to be a fun matchup, man. But look, Tua's been able to get the last couple against him. The one where he comes off the bench, homecoming king, that was the big story. Like, oh, Lamar's coming into town. A lot of people were like, kind of batting eyes. There were plenty of people, plenty of Dolphins fans batting their eyes at Lamar Jackson, and Tua was able to get that win against him. And then, of course, we know that game against Baltimore last year, they talked about this a little bit, and didn't want to overblow it, I think, Tua today, but I think a lot of Dolphin fans felt like that was almost like a rebaptism as a fan. It was like that changed a lot of people with, like, the bombs, the welcoming of Tyreek Hill, Kevin Harlan on the call. It was like, in Kevin Harlan's, like, in a lot of ways, the symphony to you get fun football now. And that's what the Dolphins have really been blessed with for the last couple of years. And so I think it's cool that this comes down to this matchup between these two teams and how much is on the line between both of them. And, Lamar talked about this the other, where he was hosing down Florio after the recent win against San Francisco, because they're all dismissing. They were saying, "Oh, time's up, Baltimore. You're going to get roughshotted. You're going to get killed by the 49ers." And now all of a sudden they're flipping on it, and they're like, "Oh, well, now Baltimore's." It's like, no, well, you're on the bandwagon now. You don't really believe in that team, but it is great that everybody is believing in it to the point where they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, now they're going to." I like the Miami Dolphins in this position. I don't. It's not as fun when everybody starts hopping on your bandwagon and starts saying, "Oh, that's why you're going to win. That's why you're going to win. That's going to win." It's always more fun being in the team that gets to rub it in their face of being wrong. And Lamar, unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, who probably likes being in that position as well, is, well, now everybody's giving him the flowers and they don't believe in the Miami Dolphins. So now everybody is going to be going for Baltimore in this matchup. And he's like, "Oh, well, now all of a sudden you guys are here." Well, the Dolphins probably love the fact of, "Oh, nobody thinks we're going to go in there and beat this team. Nobody nationally thinks that we're going to go and get this one done." Even though the spread is not lopsided. I mean, it's 3.5 to Baltimore, which is, typically home team gets 3 points anyway. So, Vegas looks at it as a pretty even matchup, which is I just can't wait for it, man. It is exciting. 1 o'clock coming up, CBS. Game Day Uncensored, 9 a.m. pregame action on WQAM's YouTube page. So hope you guys can check us on out for that one.